Hey, shalom everyone. This is Amir Tsal Fati. I'm live from Galilee. I tried earlier to give an update on the Israeli elections on Telegram. I'm still learning this whole Telegram live thing, so I don't think you can watch it because it ended. And I just learned that it doesn't record it, so you can't go and watch it later. So this is going to be my elections update with the final results, and that's something that you need to know. So let's pray. Father, I thank you. You've done above and beyond anything that we've asked, we prayed for, and we fasted for. And now we ask that you will preside over this update and allow us to see what's going on around us with the biblical eyes. We thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you again. Shalom, everyone. This is Amir Tsal Fati. Let me put my glasses so I can see you better. And I owe you an update on the election result. 10 minutes ago, no, less than 10 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago, excuse me, more. 35 minutes ago, we finally got the final results, and here they are. Okay, here they are. 100% of the votes counted. Benjamin Netanyahu's block 64, Lapid's block 51, and the Arabs are in between. And if that's not enough, pay attention to this one right here. Okay, Likud party of Benjamin Netanyahu 31, Lapid's party Yesh Atid 24. The new rising star of these elections is the religious Zionism, which we will talk about in a few seconds. This is 14. National Unity. This is Gantz, the defense minister, and all the bits and pieces of other parties that joined him. That's 12. Shas, the Sephardic Jewish ultra-Orthodox, 11. The Ashkenazi Jewish ultra-Orthodox, 8. And then Israel Beitenu of Lieberman. The Muslim Brotherhoods, 5, Ra'am. The Arab Party of Hadash Ta'al, 5, and Labour Party, that used to be the biggest rival of Likud, barely made it with 4 mandates. So we are talking about amazing victory. Just so you know, a year and a half ago, it was exactly the opposite. Netanyahu's bloc was 52, and the other was 63, plus there was the Arabs there that also protected them from the outside. So, you know, folks, it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal, above and beyond anything we could ever expect. Now, remember, I was sitting on my desk in the studio over there on the night of the elections. I barely watched the exit polls and I immediately reported to you. Netanyahu received 61. In other polls, it was 62, but they said that it's very fragile. And, you know, in Israel, when you lose one mandate, then it's 60-60. And for the last 3 or 4 elections, Netanyahu always led in the beginning, and then he lost it during the night when the real results started flowing in. And this is why I was super cautious, and I didn't want to start any victory dance until and little did I know that even the 62, which I had in mind for weeks, was actually lower, and it's 64. It was 65 until this morning, but the final 10% changed it a little bit, and this is where we are right now. Decisive victory, amazing victory. Netanyahu, this is probably his biggest victory, all of his political life. And what a comeback from someone that they wanted to throw to jail for, fake allegations that were proved fake, and it's a farce, this whole trial. All of that, everything they tried failed. And he's coming back to the prime minister's office stronger than ever. But with this time with a right-wing conservative government that is going to not allow him to get away with great and deep reforms in the judicial system, judicial branch, because our problem is our judicial system is so bad, so liberal, that you can't really govern without the Supreme Court telling you can't do this and you can't do that. And so we have to make some very, very major changes over there. So another thing is that governing, in parts of the country is not really happening, and we have Bedouin some gangs in the Negev in the south, and also in Galilee, not too far from where I live, where any farmer, Jewish farmer, is not feeling safe anymore. They steal equipment, they burn fields, and unless you pay them, you'll suffer from them. That's the thing. A lot of people voted for the religious Zionism, not because they are religious people. Some very secular farmers in Galilee voted for the religious Zionism because they're the ones that ran with the ticket of, we are going to be back the landlords of this house and govern. And those bandits should actually be afraid of us, not because when you go into the court and the judge dismisses all the allegations and sends you back out, why wouldn't you do it again? This is exactly what's happening. So, folks, very, very interesting, the things that we're going through right now. And again, for those of you who don't know, these are the results. Netanyahu's block 64, Lapid block 51, Arabs 5. Remember, out of Lapid block, there's 5 more of the Muslim Brotherhoods. It's just that they are in the coalition with him. That's why they were. Ra'am with 5 seats is actually blue because it's part of Lapid's block, and the one next to it is green. And that is because it is not part of the coalition. That's the Arab party that stays in between, and that is what we have right now. So, folks, final 100% of the votes were counted. It is final. Benjamin Netanyahu won. He's the next prime minister of Israel. And the 25th Parliament of Israel not only will have a strong national Jewish coalition, but it also has said goodbye to the far left progressive liberal party called Meretz. Somebody, and I tweeted that today, somebody said, Meretz says there is no God. God says there is no Meretz. This is it. So, here we are, folks, at the point where Israel is rejoicing. Proverbs 29, verse 2, when the righteous rules, the people rejoice. But when the wicked is in power, the people groan. And let's move to the wicked. I feel so bad and so sad for the people of Brazil nowadays. They are going through a terrible time. And I can tell you, folks, we need to pray for them. This country is on the verge of civil war because not only a convicted criminal won the elections, it's someone who sat in jail until not long ago and was released so he can run for president and beat Bolsonaro. And they try to tell the people not to go to vote because Lula is leading over Bolsonaro in 10, 15 points, when in reality, it wasn't so. And in the second round of election, he only won in less than 2%. And had everyone showed up, probably Bolsonaro would have won. But anyway, there's some fears of, some election fraud over there. But I can tell you, millions of Brazilians are now begging their military to intervene and not allow a criminal to get back into the palace of the president and to rule a country like a gangster. And I can also tell you, folks, that from what I get from people that write me, they say that we are afraid that this socialist, is going to turn Brazil into Venezuela. We do not want that. Brazil was a rising star. And of course, COVID hit, and it's not as it was, but definitely a socialist is the wrong person to rule a country that wants to recover from a financial crisis. And so we need to pray for them. We need to pray. There's so many far left, weird governments that are now rising in different parts of the world. There were also elections in Denmark yesterday, elections also in other parts of the world. Folks, there's a lot of instability. A new prime minister entered into Downing 10 in London, first time ever. A non-white British Asian person of Indian descent, Rishi Nisak. I'm sorry, I must have butchered his name right now, but I can definitely tell you that on my Telegram channel, I actually posted a video of him performing a Hindu ceremony as he entered into the prime minister. His name is Rishi Sunak, and if you go to my Telegram channel, you'll see a Hindu ceremony that he performed right before he entered into prime minister's residence today for the first time. Rishi Sunak, a multi-millionaire of Indian descent, 42, I think, years old. And this is the guy that is now ruling the British people, the United Kingdom. And so many prime ministers within 2 months. You've got, you had Johnson, Truss, and of course him. Just, the Russians are accusing the UK for blasting the Nord Stream pipelines, and they just said today that they intercepted a text message from Liz Truss as she was still the foreign minister of Boris Johnson's government. They intercepted a text message that she wrote to Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State of the US, where she actually said, "It has been done." And that was the day of the blast of Nord Stream. So I'm not saying the British did it. I'm just saying the Russians say that the British did it, which is not a good news for the British, because the Russians, they don't like to have someone not paying for what he did. As you can see, of course, in the Ukraine, what's going on there. So folks, a lot of instability, but again, thankfully, prayers and fasting helped so much. And thankfully, the Lord listened to the prayers of so many people all around the world, 59 countries. There were people who wrote us that from 59 different countries, they were praying and fasting for the elections in Israel. And we're going to do the same for the elections in America for the midterms. We're not going to have prayer meetings or something like that, but we will call people to pray and fast for the 3 days leading into the elections in America. We believe that there's a great influence of what's going on over there on the rest of the world, especially on Israel. And therefore, Netanyahu really needs a Republican House, a Republican Congress, both houses, in order to be able to govern with a very liberal, progressive president. So again, we need wisdom from God and a lot of hope. In these days, we don't have the luxury of getting angry and not praying and not staying optimistic. Look, the inevitable is there. We know exactly that we're going to be out of here and the Lord is going to judge this world. This is something we know. But until then, we're called to occupy, we're called to do his business, and we're called to be found doing the Father's business when he comes to take us. Until then, we have to pray for the righteous people to rule. We have to pray for, we're workers of righteousness. And so we must act like that. We must be like that. And it's very, very important to continue doing that. So again, for those of you who just joined us, final results of the Israeli elections. There you go. Take a look. Netanyahu's bloc, 64 seats. Lapid bloc, 51. And the Arabs, 5. And again, just so to make it clear, there's 10 seats of the Arabs. It's just that 5 of them are on Lapid's bloc. So they are counted as part of his bloc. But that's the Muslim Brotherhood that has formed a government with. Unbelievable. They're gone. They're out. No more. This is that disaster. The lack of the ability of Israel to govern is because of that. Because we appointed them. It's like letting the cat watch over the milk. And so, folks, please continue to pray. I will update you more about what's going on. There's a lot of instability, a lot of issues around the world. We need to be people of prayer and a lot of hope. A lot of hope. And we need to be people that not only have hope, but spread hope. The hope that we have is not in this world. It's not in the leaders of this world. It's not in governments of this world. And it's not in the military powers of this world. Our hope is Christ. He's our hope. And by the way, when Paul invited all the leaders, all of the Jews, to his house arrest in Rome, and I'm reading from Acts chapter 28. Okay, I'm reading from my Hebrew English Bible, Acts chapter 28. It says the following thing. Here I'm reading from verse 17. And it came to pass after 3 days that Paul called the leaders of the Jews together. So when they had come together, he said to them, Men and brethren, though I have done nothing against our people. Paul considered Israel his people, the Jews. And he says, I have done nothing against our people or the customs of our fathers, he said. Yet I was delivered as a prisoner from Jerusalem into the hands of the Romans, who when they examined me, they wanted to let me go because there was no cause for putting me to death. But when the leaders of the Jews spoke against it, I was compelled to appeal to Caesar. Not that I have anything of which to accuse my nation. Look what he says. My nation, Israel. I can't accuse them because I'm one of them and I was blind as well. But then he said, look, for this reason, therefore, I have called for you. I see you and speak to you, or speak with you. And then he said the following thing, and that's verse 20. For the hope of Israel, I am bound with this chain. Paul was chained, and he said to his fellow Jewish people, his brothers, his nation, he said, This is for the hope of Israel. That's why I'm in chain. He's the hope of Israel, Jesus. And because of that, I'm in chain, because I believe in him. So I'm telling you folks, yes, I voted for Netanyahu. I'm even reading his book right now. But I can tell you, the hope of Israel is Christ. And that's what our prayer should be, that they will come to the saving knowledge of Jesus and come. And this is what you probably could see in my interview with Professor Jonathan Duby. Yes, he's very smart and amazing interview about climate change. But I told him that I do believe in climate change. And the climate change that I believe in is that there will be judgment. And the sun will scourge men. And there will be definitely climate change. But it's not the climate change of omission of CO2. It's not. This is a joke. This is not it. It's a climate change that will come when God will judge the world because of the world's wickedness and the world rebellion. And so we still have time now when it's not happening yet, when we're still here. As believers, we need to tell people, and if you're not saved, this is your time. Today is a day of salvation. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and life. No one can come to the Father but through me. There is no other way. There's no other hope. There's no other peace. There's no other life but him. And only when we believe in him, we will have access back to the tree of life, the source of life, which is in the city of God, which we will be their permanent residence forever and ever in eternity in the New Jerusalem. But until then, folks, here we are in a fallen world full of sin, full of anger, full of a world that is inevitably will go through judgment. But until then, we need to be workers of righteousness. We need to fulfill our duty. And I'm now calling upon my American friends, go to vote. That's a duty, but that's also a privilege. Millions of people around the world do not have that privilege. They wish they could vote. They wish they could choose their governments. You can. Look, I did. And the people went out in big numbers and voted. Look, we got back the right, government. Go to vote. Some people write me, believers should not vote. We should just pray. No, it's like drowning in the ocean, seeing a lifeboat, ignoring it and praying that it will save you. God, in those countries that are considered democracies and where you can vote, that's your way to get a government that is more righteous. Now, do I think that politicians are saints? I don't. But I do think that if we can save the life of one more baby by a specific legislation, it's worth everything. I do think that if we can stop one more person from trying to amputate some body parts just so he can follow his desires and then regret that, then we did good if we voted for legislation. Well, there's so many things I could give you. If we think that we can cause poverty all across the world just to reduce world's temperature in 1%, and if we think we can actually change global warming because we are like God, then we're wrong. We need to move forward. So, folks, there's so much that we can do simply by voting for the right people. First of all, by voting. Second, by voting for the right people. But sitting at home and complaining without doing anything about something is just not the right way. So if there's one thing I learned from the elections, is that when people think that enough is enough, then stand up and do something about it. And in democracy like America, go to vote. Go to vote. Even on the, now, fill up the ballot. Or on the day of election, go to the polling station and vote. Vote by the millions. If you want a change, make a difference and do that. You have to. All right, folks, again, I gave you the final results of the Israeli elections. 64 for Netanyahu, solid majority to form a strong government. Let me make it very clear, folks. The political crisis in Israel has come to an end. Finally, there is a decisive decision of the people of Israel for a stable coalition that should at least run for the next 4 years. And so, thank you for praying and fasting with me. Thank you for keeping us in prayer. And then allow me to remind you to join me on Telegram for world news and for many, many other things as well. Okay? So here we are. I'll say goodbye to you, not before I tell you how to join us.
Join the Amir Sarfati and Behold Israel channel on Telegram. Here you will receive daily updates and audio messages from Amir. You can also take part in our community and reply with comments. Getting started is easy. Simply download Telegram from the App Store, then visit the Behold Israel Telegram channel in your browser. From there, click Preview Channel, then click Join. That's it. See you on Telegram.